Seems to be a lot of confusion, so I thought I'd try and explain this. In Azure, we have many hosts. Let me just change the brushes and everything on this. Right, so we have many hosts. Let's just draw one of them here. And those hosts have physical hard drives attached to them. And some of those drives are hard drives, HDDs. And some of them are SSDs. Let's just do it like that. Okay. When we provision a VM onto one of these machines, let's put a VM here. So this is a guest. Let me make this clear. This is the host. And this is the guest. Then that machine needs a minimum of a C drive and a D drive. A C drive for the operating system and a D drive for the local system. Okay, we've got a thing over here called storage. And there are two types of storage accounts. There are standard and premium. Premium is on SSDs. So these disks that are in here, or the disks that are used to store this data, are SSDs. Standard are spinning disks, HDDs, hard disk drives. So if I provision, let's just say I provision an A2, then I am going to have, what I will end up with is, let's draw this in red, I will end up with a link to a VHD in a standard storage account. This is a .vhd file in a standard storage account for my C drive. And I will also have a link to a disk on my local system here, and that will be my D drive. Now the thing about these things is, let's imagine for some reason my VM gets moved, because just for a reason. There's reasons why the fabric might do that. It's going to move my VM, my guest, and it might move it onto a different host. Here's a different host, and that's got hard drives and SSDs. And if it moves it onto a different host, then that's okay, because the C drive, which is coming from here, is going into the same place. So that's persistent. I'll put P for persistent. That will survive a reboot. And the D drive, well, look what's happened here. Look, down here, the D drive is attached to this system, which is actually on my host. It's not in the storage account. So what will happen when the VM gets moved from the main host to the new host, then the storage account, then I will be attached to a locally provisioned drive. That is why sometimes your data will persist on the D drive, on what it's called the temp drive, and it is the D drive. So sometimes your data will persist on the temp drive, and sometimes it won't. It depends what host it's on. Probably, if you go into the portal, and let's just have a quick look in here. If you go to the portal and you find a VM, let me look for VMs here. Yeah, that's okay. So these all say stopped deallocated. I think the deallocated part means that they've actually been removed from the host. But actually these are all stopped. But let's just say if I went to that one there, AMS VM 0, and let's imagine it was running and I did restart, that is almost certainly going to shut it down and restart it on exactly the same host as it started with. Let's go back to our picture. So if, what color shall I do this in? Orange. If this was the host we started on, then if I did just restart, it's almost certainly going to fire up on that host again, which means it's almost certainly going to be attached back to the same drive, and it will survive that reboot. Whatever data I put on that D drive will survive that reboot. If, however, I shut that guest down for, let's just say, 12 hours, 24 hours, for a long period of time, then the chances of all of the parts of it being on that host when I come to reboot it 24 hours later is pretty small. Which means that the Azure data center will provision me into this new host, into very likely a different host, and that means it's going to get a new temp drive, and any data I put on that drive is going to be lost. Now, what we normally put on the D drive is the page file, and the page file gets initialized every time Windows boots in any case, so nobody's at any great loss for this. Okay, so bear that in mind. For the A series machines, you end up with a local on the host hard disk drive, which is attached to your D drive, otherwise known as the temp drive, and that's where your page file is, which doesn't need to survive a reboot. If you put data on that D drive, sometimes it will survive a reboot, sometimes it won't survive a reboot, according to those scenarios I just highlighted there. You should therefore, as a developer, always assume that data will not survive a reboot on that machine. And a reboot can of course, include a blue screen. If the machine falls over, reboots, falls over, reboots, falls over, reboots, there's going to be a certain number of times it does it before something happens and it gets moved to a different host. And when it gets moved to a different host, then the data won't be there. So what is my advice? Never put any data onto the D drive that you are going to rely on to survive a reboot, a crash, anything which is going to restart the operating system. Okay, so that is the A series machines. Let's now do the same thing. I need to do a little bit of rubbing out here, so let's get rid of this. Let's do this for D series machines now. Let me get rid of that. Let me get rid of this link here. Sorry, this is a bit scrappy and doesn't look all that great, but I'm explaining it to you. You'll get the idea of it after this. Okay, so what happens in this case is with a D series machine, our C drive, the operating system, comes from exactly the same place as it did before, comes from the storage account. Whoops. Why is that gone to a different color? Oh, it's because I'm using a rubber. Okay, it comes from the storage account. It feeds into the C drive, and this is on my D series machine. Let's just say this is a D3. But with a D3, with a D series machine, the local drive, the D drive, this time is attached to a local SSD. You can see now why the D series machines get provisioned onto a set of hosts which have SSDs. The A series machines, they could be provisioned onto machines, onto hosts which have SSDs, but because the temp drive is HDDs, they don't need to. So in fact, you can imagine there are a collection of older servers, older physical servers in the Azure data centers. Perhaps some of them, I don't know if this is the case, but perhaps some of them only have hard drives and they can host A series machines. But in the case of a D series machine, we're going to need a local SSD for that, because that's one of its features. Let me just show you what I mean. If we go to the portal, let's go into the portal. Let's provision a new VM. Let's just go through the sort of the point of doing it. Let's say add a new VM. I'll say I want Visual Studio 2017. Spelt it wrong. There's one. Let me pick a server. It's a bit more logical. I'll go create. So it asks me for the name, my server. Then I choose the disk. So if I choose HDD, let's try that first of all. Let's put a username in here. That doesn't look right, does it? That's better. I'll call this resource group my server West US. Why not? Click OK. Okay, so I chose an A series machine. I chose a hard drive as the storage account that I'm going to use. which means I can provision an A series machine. I can also provision a D series machine, but look what it says. It says the local disk, the temp drive, will be an SSD. Let's go back to our picture. Here, that's that green line just there. You can't really see that when I do it like that. How do I highlight it? Let me do it again. It's doing green. It's this line here. It's pointing to an SSD on the local host. That's what that's talking about. Back to the portal. If we can get there. And you can see a D2V, it's just a version 2 of the same thing. It has also a local SSD. Okay, let's go back. Let's now say that we want to do this time, we want to use SSDs. SSDs. So now let's do the same thing again. So what it says this time is I can use DS2, but notice that D2 doesn't appear. Let's click here. That says DS, that says DS. These are all DS, DS, GS, LS, FS, blah, 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 blah. No Ds. Okay, now let's think, why does it not say D? Well, the reason is because Ds will use, let me do this in red, Ds have their operating system disks and any data disks attached to standard storage accounts. That's why there are no Ds. But did you notice there are DSs? DSs have a local SSD, just like a D, but they have the possibility. Now here's where this is going to be more difficult because I've got to rub this out. Wouldn't that be good? Oh, I wonder if I can change the size of the eraser. Not really. Oh, I think it is slightly bigger. Right, you're getting the idea here as we go down here. Okay, so what we can do with that size of machine is we can get our C drive and any data drives actually, and we can attach them to SSDs. So that's why you can see SSDs in there. Okay, so hopefully you can see that a DS machine is a machine that can use SSDs for its operating system disk and for any data disks, that it will automatically be given a local SSD for the temp drive, which is where the page file is stored. D drives, they will have a local SSD for the page file, but they will use a standard hard drive in a standard storage account for their C drive. And A machines, they can't use any SSDs at all. They will be provisioned to a host which offers them a hard drive as their temporary drive. So I'm hoping that makes sense so far. Now let's get rid of some of this because the other bits I need to explain are the prices. Get rid of it there like that. Delete. Right, let's go here. Make sure I've got all the right colors. Hard drives, sorry, the hard drives, they go into standard storage accounts, and each hard drive is essentially a .vhd file, and that can be up to 1 terabyte. Actually, there's a possibility that it's 4 terabytes because I can't remember whether they've just either they're just about to change that to 4 terabytes or it's just changed to 4 terabytes. One of the two, but it's going to be either 1 terabyte or 4 terabyte depending on the date that you're watching this video. And what do you pay for? Well, let's just say you create a 500 gigabyte drive. You specify that you want a 500 gig disk when you build your system. And let's imagine that what you actually use down here is 10 gigabytes. What will you pay for? Will you pay for all 500 gigabytes? Or will you just pay for the 10 gigabytes that you have consumed? And the answer is, with standard storage accounts, in other words, with hard disks, spinning disks, you pay for what you consume, not for what you provision. So in this case, it's I think it's 1.64 pence per gigabyte per month for locally redundant storage. Let's just check that, shall we? Have I got? Let's go here and go to What am I looking for? Azure pricing. Azure.com. Go to pricing. Pricing calculators, storage. So if I went for, let's just say, I was showing US West earlier, wasn't I? So let's stick with the same location, West US, in British pounds. So LRS hot storage, or just prices just changed, gone down very slightly. I think it was 1.64 the other day. It's now 1.56 pence, 1.56 pennies per gigabyte per month. So that's going to cost you 15.6 pence. It'll cost you 15.6 pence every month to maintain that storage. Okay, what happens with SSDs? With SSDs, they come in one of three sizes. P10, that is 128 gigabytes. P20, that's 512 gigabytes. Or P30, that is 1024 gigabytes. And the difference here is what you pay for is the provisioned size of the disk, not how much you use. You're paying for the size of the disk itself. So there are three prices for these disks. Whether you put 1 kilobyte on that disk or 1024 gigabytes, you're going to pay for the whole 1024 gigabytes. Let's just have a look at the prices of that. Let's go back to the portal. Where has it gone? In here. Now, how do I find this out? I need to find premium storage, blob storage, disk storage, etc., etc., etc. I think I've got it in here somewhere. It's a case of navigating the thing, isn't it? Storage, manage disks. We have got it in here somewhere. Where is premium storage pricing? I can't find the premium storage pricing. I'm going to stop the. I'm going to pause the recording for a little while I find this, because I don't want you to sort of see me trying to hunt around and find a piece of information, which I've definitely seen. There's a little paragraph on here somewhere. Is it there? Pricing options? No, it's not. Right, let me just pause the recording for a little while. Okay, I found it. So in here we go to something which has been recently introduced, is the idea of managed and unmanaged storage. I'm not going to cover that in this video. I'll probably do it on a different video, otherwise we'll just get completely confused by things. But if I go to unmanaged storage, an example of unmanaged storage is premium storage, then it says premium unmanaged disks and page blobs. So disks here, you've got P10, P20 and P30. This is the size of them, and this is the price of them. So let's just do some comparisons here. Look, 128 gigs is going to cost you £14.70. Let's do that. £14.70. But 512, that's 4 times that, isn't it? 128 doubled is 256, doubled is 512. That makes it 4 times that number. So let's multiply that by 4. And it's £58.80, but you would get that amount of storage for £54.58. Okay, and then 1024 is double that, isn't it? So let's multiply that number by 2. It comes to £117.60, but you get it for £100.75. So it's not quite a linear relationship between the size of these things and the prices. What you're actually getting is a slight discount, I suppose you could call it, for the volume of data that you'll be storing. However, on this one, well, in fact, on all of them, but let's just take this one as the example. If you store 1 byte, you're going to be paying £100.75 per month for that storage. And if you store 1024 gigabytes, you're going to be paying £100.75. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Just quickly on managed storage. One of the things that you find is that you can see here it says what the IOs are per disk: 500 for a P10, 2,300 for a P20, and 5,000 for a P30. So you're also getting an increase in performance here. But there are various things that have, it's not just the disks themselves that have an IO limit. For example, the VMs that they live on and the storage accounts that the disks come from also have that problem. So one of the things that you frequently find yourself doing, for example, is creating several disks in several storage accounts, going into a VM and then striping them, or using storage spaces or something like that to make one large volume out of lots of different disks, because you don't want to hit the bandwidth and throughput problems of the storage accounts. So managed disks will just manage all of that for you. They'll know what to do. It'll know what to do. It'll know how to distribute the load for you, and it'll just do it all for you, rather than you having to manually do this. You can see that when you come to actually manage these things, provisioning these things in the first place is steady state stuff. That's not a problem. It's when you come to actually manage lots of systems together that you want something else to do that for you. I think there's hardly any difference in price between managed and unmanaged storage. If we go to managed storage, premium managed disks. Oh, it looks like it's the same actually. Standard managed disks. Standard managed disks, you would expect them to be cheaper because it's standard. Premium managed disks, it looks like the same price. So, you know, you might as well, if it gives you features which are useful, you might as well use them. Okay, I'm hoping that helps. I think that covers it. Pretty sure that covers it. Oh yeah, what I was going to do was write the prices in here, wasn't I? That was £14.70, wasn't it? This one was £54.58, was it? Let's just have a quick look. In here. £54.58, yeah, I was right. £54.58. And this one was £100.75. Okay, hope that made sense to you.